Okay, there are two ways of doing multiple takeoffs within the on-screen takeoff system, and I'm going to try and show you both of them. Although I've really got this house plan, so it's a bit harder to show you accurately. So you'll have to use your imagination just a little bit. So when we go through this first one, this is called using typical groups. And typical groups is where they've drawn the drawing in such a way that it's every apartment you can see. So this is particularly, you'll find that this sort of takeoff is associated with apartments, and you've got the same apartment lots of times. Okay, so you've got a type 1 apartment and there's 50 of them, and they've actually drawn the apartment 50 times. So what you do in this instance is you create a group, and it's called a typical group, and you tell it that this is an apartment or whatever. Yep. And you give it a width, and to be honest, this doesn't really matter very much, and you just do that. And then actually what you do from now on is you draw a square around the thing you're going to measure all the time. So you measure apartment 1, so I'm going to put a square around that there. And then what you do is you tell it all the other instances of this apartment. Now I'll just make up a couple out here, right? So I'm going to put a couple out in the middle of nowhere. Then what I do is I then go and create some conditions. Now conditions in takeoff in the on-screen takeoff program is sort of like I always call this my coloured pencil set. When I was a quantity surveyor, one of the things you got issued with was set of do-it pencils. Everything you measure, you measured and you measured in such a way you coloured in as you go, right? So that's my coloured pencil set. So what I'm going to measure is either something linear, something area, or something a count. I'm going to measure something area. So my area thing that I'm going to measure, this is a tile area, right? Or maybe actually this is a bench. Yeah. Okay. Now you can give it a thickness. It doesn't really matter very much. It's more to do with you're going to measure volumes, which you have the options in here. So maybe I want the area and the perimeter of this thing, and that's about all I need to know. So while I'm measuring, so now it's saying, okay, while I'm measuring things now, I want to measure. I'm going to measure this bedroom too. And because I'm using this typical group, when I do things, everywhere you go within on-screen takeoff wants to show you a training video on how to do it. You can obviously turn those off, but it's pretty good in the way it does its training to help you out. So let's say we were going to put some tiles in the robe for some silly reason, right? So I'm going to measure, click here. As I go through, click here, and done. I've measured this area that's in the bench. Now if I zoomed right out to the drawing, which I'm going to do here, it's just this button here to say zoom right out, you'll see that it's measured that square in 4 times because I clicked four spots. So that's what the typical group does, is every time you measure something, it multiplies it out by the time you've done it. So if that apartment, if maybe that you see a drawing and they've actually measured 26 apartments and they're all exactly identical, then this is how you would measure that sort of thing. So that's the first way of doing the takeoff. So I'm going to pause there just for a second, and I'll come back and show you the next way of doing things. So give me a sec. Here I go. Stop. Okay, the other way of doing takeoff in multiple locations is to do it in a thing called typical areas. So we had typical groups before, now we've got typical areas. And the idea here is that we've got to set up the matrix first. So the first thing we'll do is we'll set up all these areas, and let's say, for example, we've got level 1, and then I'm going to quick add some others, and I'm going to say these are units, and we'll go from 101 to 106 or something like that. Yep. So they've started to build up the areas. And then from there, what we do is we say I've got these typical areas, and the first thing I want to do is say I've got type A unit, and for this it might have one of those, that one there, and that one there, and then I've got a new one, and it's type B, and I've got that one and that one. So you get the idea here is you can actually make a bit of a matrix. Now the idea here is that oops, sorry, I was after just put a 0 on that one there because I want two of those. The idea here is you could actually, instead of putting the units down the side of the page, you could actually just put type 1, 2, 3 under level 1, and you could say here at the top column here, level 1, there are 6 of those, level 2, there are 4 of those, all sorts of different ways you could achieve this matrix, right? This is the way I've decided to do it right now. So as I measure something, that's how I'm going to do it. So from now on, what I want to do is start to measure stuff. So as I measure my joinery, my kitchen bench or whatever, sorry, what I've got to do is tell it which area it relates to. So it's a type A unit. So as I measure my type A unit, I'm going to put the tiles, and let's just going to put it all around this unit here. So bedroom 1, bedroom 2 there, I've just put whatever it is we're measuring here, I've just put it around the whole thing, and that's now allocated that to 4. So every time that measurement that I did, it's automatically multiplied it by 4 because that's how many type A's there are. And then when I go to measure the type B's, so the idea of this is where, particularly where the architect has drawn a drawing which is here is type A unit, and you multiply it 50 times. The type B unit 20 times. Yeah. So it's just a different way of doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's being able to say that instead of it being drawn 40 times, which is like the first way of doing it, this is I've drawn a type A unit, and so I'm going to measure everything in this type A unit, and I need to multiply it out. And so that's what the typical areas does. So that's pretty much how the multiplication works within the system. Hope that makes a lot of sense. If it doesn't, please by all means give me a call. My mobile is 0419 395 859, or email me at dale@synergy-group.com.au. Thanks very much for your time. Righto, bye.